Pranabhai, very, very warm welcome. Eric, what a pleasure to see you. I know you're not well, but still you're here. Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, lots of friends of CRF. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us for what is our literally second birthday. 2 years is a very short period in the life of an institution. Yet, every institution reaches a moment when it feels it's moving ahead of being from just a vision to creating an impact. Possibly, we at CRF have reached that point. Not because work has complete, far from it. We've got lots and lots of miles to go before we sleep. But because we now have a growing community of thinkers, practitioners, policymakers, and friends, all of you, who believe in what we are doing. If you did not believe in what we were doing, you probably wouldn't be here today. We live in a period of extraordinary change. Geopolitics is certainly being reshaped by conflict and competition. Climate change is no longer a distant concern. Technology, especially AI, is transforming the way we think. In fact, the world changes so quickly that by the time a think tank can publish a report on uncertainty, the uncertainty has changed. So these are difficult times where you've got to be nimble, you've got to be flexible as a think tank, but more importantly, you've got to be prepared to be asking difficult questions with intellectual honesty, with strategic clarity, and importantly, with practical optimism. That was the idea behind Chintan, and that will remain the objective behind Chintan. Pranabhai, with your blessings and your support, we wanted to build a platform that is deeply Indian in perspective, globally engaged in outlook, and thank you so much for all of you who've helped in that outlook, but yet practical in orientation. What a journey, truthfully, it's been. It's been an amazing and a very, very memorable journey because we've organized conferences, or let's say we've learned to organize conferences, we've published research, we've built partnerships, and we have convened conversations across disciplines and sectors. More importantly, we've tried to bring together into the room people who often don't meet, researchers and practitioners, government and people who actually implement, India and the world. But it's not always been easy. The journey has definitely not been smooth all the time. In fact, watching the World Cup, I'm sure we've all been now looking forward to the next match at 9 p.m., but watching the World Cup made me feel that football and work in a think tank may have a few things in common. Certainly strategy, certainly teamwork, certainly, I would say, moments of brilliance. But more importantly, both in football and in working in a think tank, you're getting so much advice from all around people around you who probably feel that they know how to better play or better do a think tank. We value that advice. We certainly value that advice. But very truthfully, and I say this with complete candor, what you see today, and I would so strongly when you have the time to just glance through the two walls, well, on my left, but on your right, which shows the kind of publications and events that we've done, none of it would have been possible without the amazing team that I have at CRF. And if I tell you the journey, we started in September 2024. So we are celebrating our second foundation day because we signed some papers in June of 2024. But it was in September of 2024 that we got our first set of interns. So we started in September with our first set of interns, a basement office, thanks to you, a business plan that I must say at that moment relied far more on optimism and coffee. Not necessarily it was grounded in anything firm. But today, we are close to 40 professionals, and you saw from that short video what these people have achieved. I stand here only to speak before you. It is they who've survived, I would say, impossible deadlines, last-minute speaker changes, all of you are well aware of that, event crises, publication deadlines. And above all, they've survived a president who is convinced that every task can be completed by tomorrow morning. In fact, I'm told that my editing style has become predictable. If I describe any of their notes as excellent, the team immediately starts preparing for extensive changes to the note. But in all seriousness, this evening truly belongs to the CRF team. They're outstanding. I'm immensely proud of them. And ladies and gentlemen, we'd be so happy if you gave them a hand. But they are strengthened by mentors and well-wishers. In this context, let me first and foremost express my deep gratitude to Mr. Pranav Adaniji, whose guidance, encouragement, and unwavering support have been invaluable throughout our journey. I would also very warmly like to thank Eric Solheim. He's a member of our advisory board, and his insights on sustainability and development have enriched our thinking. But at times, some significant contributions remain subterranean, not often visible. Let me use this occasion to acknowledge one such contribution by a person who has always been there for CRF and whose support, wise counsel, and encouragement have helped us grow. Amanji, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would also like to very, very sincerely, and thank you so much for all of you for being here. Thank you to the ambassadors, members of the diplomatic community. Trust me, it's been your engagement that has helped us develop a vision for CRF which is global. It is your engagement that has reinforced the importance of dialogue across nations. But very interestingly also, working with all of you has only reinforced from the very many years that I spent in WTO, that when you say that that's an interesting article, Shishir, it could mean anything from complete agreement to complete rejection. But that's what diplomacy is all about. So, but thank you so much. And thank you especially for the effort and time that it's taken to be here. To our academic partners, there are many of them, to industry leaders, and yes, friends from bureaucracy, especially MEA, thank you for strengthening our work. Thank you for guiding our work. And thank you for instilling the practical reality into our theoretical work. Certainly not last, and certainly not least, my journalist friends, and there are many of them here. Thank you for ensuring that the ideas that we come out with get a wider audience. Because without that wider audience, we do not get a feedback on what that idea is worth. But interestingly, our relationship with journalists is rather like a strategic partnership. We write long reports, and they remind us that nobody reads them. But we love that partnership. We love that. And yes, and a special thanks, and with that I'll end this bit, and that is to the editors. There are a few of them here, because the editors of every media possess a remarkable talent. They can always identify the exact paragraph the author thinks is indispensable, and then they remove that. Over the past, I must say, CRF has worked across many areas, many areas. In fact, some people did occasionally question us, why are you working across the gamut of these areas? We've done trade, we've done climate change, energy transition, technology, women empowerment, infrastructure, geopolitics, global governance, and the list expands. The reason is simple. Today's challenges, not just that India faces, but the world faces, do not fit neatly into silos. Climate policy is economic policy. Energy security is certainly national security. technology and trade policy both have become strategic, which is why think tanks can no longer be confined to a single domain of expertise, because the challenge of our age demands institutions that can think across sectors, across disciplines, and across geographies, which is what CRF is trying to do. Excellencies, guests, before I conclude, let me say that we stand committed to the vision that Sri Gautam Adani ji laid out when CRF was being set up. He said, and I quote, "The future will not be judged by the loudest voices, but by those who are willing to ask the hardest question." That idea, believe me, has been our compass. Every conference we organize, every paper we publish, every dialogue we convene, in some measure or the other, we have attempted to live up to that vision. As we enter our third year, we remain committed. Pranabhai, we are committed to deepening our research, to expanding collaborations, to taking the work we do to different parts of India, but importantly, to contribute meaningfully to public policy. At the same time, we hope to retain something that often gets lost as institutions grow. Three things: curiosity, we want to continue to question; openness, we want to continue to be criticized; but very importantly, a sense of humor. After all, if one cannot occasionally laugh while discussing geopolitics, climate change, and different kind of trade negotiations, we probably wouldn't survive them. And as it is, for someone like me who spent many, many years in the WTO negotiating trade, you realize that humor is not a luxury, it is a survival kit. You certainly need that with you. But institutions ultimately are measured not by the number of research articles or by the number of events. They are measured by the credibility they uphold and the confidence they inspire. So this evening, as we celebrate 2 years of the Chintan Research Foundation, let us celebrate not just the institution or the entity. Let us celebrate the idea. The idea that thoughtful dialogue matters, the idea that evidence-based research matters even more, but above all, that India needs institutions willing to engage with complex issues with intellectual honesty. To all those of you who have supported us, who've challenged us, who've encouraged us, who've collaborated with us, but importantly, who've believed in us, a big thank you. The first 2 years have helped define who we are. The next 2 years will determine what we can become. And with those words, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again so much.
The author thinks is indispensable, and then they remove that. Over the past, I must say, CRF,
in some measure or the other, we have attempted to live up to that vision. As we enter our third year, we remain committed. Pranabhai, we are committed to deepening our research, to expanding collaborations, to taking the work we do to different parts of India, but importantly, contribute meaningfully to public policy. At the same time, we hope to retain something that often gets lost as institutions grow. Three things: curiosity, we want to continue to question; openness, we want to continue to be criticized; but very importantly, a sense of humor. After all,